I've been with FenCan in this role for about 4 years now, just about. And the deal was that I would work 3 days a week. So for 4 years, I've been working 5 days a week. So this September, yeah, thanks, Steph. Appreciate that. And paid for 3 days a week, I might add. So we added Adrian in September. Adrian comes from Initech Windows, as well as some time with Starline Windows in British Columbia, and a lot of great experience in some other fields before that. Adrian has been brought on as a full-time FenCan staff person. His role is the Director of Codes and Regulations. He will be totally focused on following the codes and the code developments and supporting members that are struggling with code challenges and issues, and looking for feedback on what you want us to do when it comes to the development and implementation of codes/regulations. So you can catch Adrian at adrian@fenestrationcanada.ca. Adrian's going to have a mic with him today, and he's going to be dealing with questions. So if you have a question on any of the sessions, please raise your hand. He'll come and see you. We want to make sure that we get those on our recordings. Okay, so Adrian, back to 3 days a week for me. I love it. Part-time Terry, that's right. I'm looking forward to that. Also, I don't want to take up too much time of the Manufacturers Council because I got a feeling there's going to be some good activity during that. So I did want to say that Fenestration Canada is currently at 349 members, which, if you know any history of Fenestration Canada, that is a significant record of membership. We went from about 160, Steph, 4 years ago to 349. So an opportunity for a non-member to be number 350. And there's going to be some extra perks that will go to that member if they sign up as our 350th member during the show. You can see Lane or Isabel for that, and they'll get you hooked up and give you a few extra perks for being number 350. What else? Let me just scroll down a bit. Sponsors, that's okay. Something else that I did want to mention and bring up. Let me just get out of this for a second. So some of you may be familiar with our FIT certified exam online. The installers can take our exam and be a certified installer through that process. So we thought we'd have a little bit of fun with that as we re-promote it and work on some things that hopefully you'll see during 2025 that's going to improve that program. I think Ron is going to talk a little bit about it. No? Okay. Well, I think there's an update a little bit, right? At the tech services? Nothing, no. Ron was out late last night, so we're not going to get an update. Pizza with hard-boiled eggs, man. Whoever thought that was a thing? It was really good. So scan the code and you can go online, and we have some of the questions out of the FIT exam, and they're multiple choice. You go in there, I think there's 5, right? 5 questions. Go in, test your knowledge on the installer questions, and tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be tallying up who got them right, and we're going to give out little surprises, gifts for the people that participate and get the right answers. And if you get the wrong answers, you're going to be removed from the industry. So it's all good. Okay, so let's go on to the Manufacturers Council. This is a members only meeting. So that's all I'm going to say about that, actually. So I'd like to welcome Cam Drew. Cam is our current Fenestration Canada president and co-chair of the Manufacturers Council with Ross and Marinov. So Cam, why don't you go to it?
Thank you very much, Terry. Good morning and welcome, everybody. We will start with the antitrust statement. So that we have prohibited topics for the meetings. The following topics are not to be discussed during formal Fenestration Canada meetings or informal gatherings before or after meetings. They are pricing, markets, output, collective refusals to deal, strategic or business plans, and restricting competition. Discussions will be stopped and the meeting returned to the legitimate business if any of the prohibited topics listed above arise. If the discussion continues, the meeting will be stopped and the matter referred to legal counsel. Attendees should voice their concerns if improper discussions arise. If necessary, attendees should leave the meeting and request to have their objection and departure noted in the meeting minutes. So just to go over the agenda, we have our previous meeting minutes to be approved from the May 30th meeting. They are on the screen. I'm sure everybody can read them there, but I know you all read them on the flight on the way here. You get through them. Okay, so could I get a minutes of the meeting? And all in favor of accepting? There we go. Thank you. Any opposed? Passed. All right. Housekeeping out of the way. So today we have a couple special guests with us from NRCan. I'll run down the agenda. You can see it there on the screen. We are going to move one item around. And this morning we definitely do. We have Adam Buist and Diana Charret from NRCan discussing the federal labeling program update. Adam, Diana?
Thank you.
I can move them or you can move them, whichever you prefer.
Maybe I'll just stand over.
So down arrow will move you to the next one. I'll get out of your way.
Okay, thank you very much, Cam and Terry.
Excuse me.
As mentioned, my name is Adam Buist, and I'm here with my colleague today, Diana Charret. We're from the Office of Energy Efficiency from Natural Resources Canada. So thank you very much for inviting us to speak to the Manufacturers Council. I saw a number of you in May at the last Manufacturers Council meeting, and I gave an interesting presentation, I hope, on a regulatory proposal that we're working on to incorporate manufactured fenestration products within the energy efficiency regulations of Canada. So our purpose today is to be here to give you a bit of an update and to summarize a little bit of the feedback that we've received from you and from other stakeholders in other associations that'll help shape the regulation, the scope of it, and hopefully today we can provide some updates to tell you what might have changed and perhaps some clarifications on some of the original content we had. So I'm going to start things off a little bit, and then my colleague Diana will kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what we're going to be talking about. So in April 2024, we updated the Forward Regulatory Plan, which is the official vehicle that we use at Natural Resources Canada to let stakeholders and everybody know when we intend to add products to the energy efficiency regulations. So as part of that formal process that we went through, there was a technical bulletin that was published in both official languages, as well as a webinar that was delivered, again, in both official languages. So this information is publicly available out there about what our preliminary scope is for this regulation. And we were talking about manufactured fenestration products. And the key that we want to highlight was that the regulation, while incorporating these products into the energy efficiency regulation, along with several dozen, or I think 50 or 70 different products that we already have regulated, what we're limiting the scope to for this was labeling and reporting requirements. So manufactured fenestration products would be considered as an energy using product and would be subject to all of the requirements of the regulations. But at this time, we are only introducing labeling and reporting requirements, and we are not advocating putting any minimum energy performance requirements for these products. So the effective date that we are working from is January 1st, 2028. So we feel like we're giving sufficient time to get feedback and to circulate this idea amongst the industry so that you'll have ample opportunity to send us questions, feedback, and we'll be able to incorporate that and shape it into our regulation. These slides that will be provided to you, there's links here to the technical bulletin as well as the forward regulatory plan. So,
concerns as we go forward in developing draft regulations. I just wanted to take some time to go over the regulatory development process here in Canada, so everybody's aware how it works, opportunities for consultation, the different stages, and uh, what's the most important is the Canada Gazette, which is the official publication of the Government of Canada that is used to provide stakeholders with draft regulations and the opportunity to comment. So the first There, it would not include site-built curtain walls, storefront windows, anything like that would be excluded. So anything that's a contiguous window frame, glazing, that's
So, for example, on a 50-story building that has a unitized system going all the way up, that would be excluded.
for sure, yeah.
How can you distinguish what a window is between why would a punch out window have to meet requirements, which is probably smaller windows than a unitized system, and then a unitized system doesn't have the same requirements? How can you pick on one segment of the window and door manufacturing? Sorry, I shouldn't say
Yeah,
pick,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
include one side of it, and then the other side doesn't include. Because, for example, you can build continuous windows floor to ceiling on a single dwelling that are stacked 4 high. So would that fall the same as a unitized system?
So the reason is, well, first of all, we want to understand these issues. We could, in theory, put those ones in the regulations. What we wanted to just start small, and we wanted to look at sort of low rise, and we started off looking at contiguous manufactured products because those are a good place to start.
Well, I think you're discriminating against, a majority of our manufacturers here. I don't think it's fair to put in regulations and pick and choose who has to follow the rules. That would be like, so if there's you know carrying 1 kilo of 1 kilo of a substance that's illegal, but if you carry it in a car, it's okay. But if it's in a cube van, then it's not okay.
Right.
I think it's unfair that, the smaller size manufacturers who probably are more small to mid-sized businesses that are, their whole life savings, their whole life is based on this business. And what you're saying is, well, that's okay. We'll allow those that do unitize that actually use more square footage of glass per
Um,
building envelope.
So part of the reason is, and something we like to understand better, is whether those site-built products are labeled. If they're not labeled, then it's very difficult for us to be able to undertake enforcement and compliance.
Oh, enforcement. Oh, okay, great. So what are you guys doing for enforcement?
Yes. So
Adam, how are you?
Yeah.
You
Yes.
remember me, right, buddy? So what I'd love to know is what you're going to do for instance,
the enfor-
because
yeah.
because site built windows, we can literally on a lot of our profiles, the way that they're being manufactured now, we can site mall, we can site glaze.
Yep.
No problem. It's all good.
Thank you so much. No, this is actually very good feedback. What we want to understand is which.
Sorry, I thought you guys shut me off. It was Stefan gave the sign to his son. Here's the concern. I think, and I hopefully I echo this concern amongst a lot of the members here. But an individual dwelling of a home that has punch out windows might have 35-40% of glass, but a unitized system that has 1,000 square foot of livable space has like 100% of glass. And yet those people, or those companies or those products, because they're being assembled on site and glazed on site, don't qualify. So if the mandate is to improve the energy performance and the mandate of our federal government is to continue to build higher, shouldn't we be going after the high stuff first? David, I leave it all to you, buddy. All right. Thank you.
Adrian, can we let Diana finish and we'll do questions at the end, please?
Sure. Yeah. So thank you so much, everybody. So please, I look forward to any arguments you have like that, so we can understand if something is already labeled. We would like to be able to obtain the information in a centralized database. To our understanding, it's a contiguous manufactured factory assembled products that would have the labels in place currently. And so this is what we're it's not any discrimination in the sense that we're not it's just a label. There's no MEPS attached. You're free to label your products as you see fit. Anybody who has products that they would like to label, there's nothing stopping you from doing so. We are just mandating that these products under our scope are labeled, and that would be a regulated mandatory requirement. On to Adam for the next slide.
Thanks very much, Diana. Yeah, I predict we're going to have a lot of questions, so I'll try and go through this quickly, and then we can open up the floor and we can answer some of the questions that we have. Oh, here we go. Thanks. So this is just a bit of an update on the technical bulletin that was released in April about some of the information that was here. We got a lot of feedback about details about it, about certain things that may make sense, certain things that may not make sense. So without spending too much time on this, because again, you will have a copy of the slide deck you can go through. These are kind of what we're going to be requiring. So again, as Diana mentioned, the energy efficiency report, it's not a paper copy that has to be submitted 10,000 times to us. It's something that we need to get just so we know the model information about how it can fit into our database. So this is something that we're working with the NFRC, and we're going to work with Canadian certification bodies as well to receive directly from them. So there won't be any impact or additional burden on manufacturers for submitting this report. So this is the information that we want there. To the best of our abilities, we're going to try and harmonize the requirements here, especially in terms of codes. So if it has an NFRC CPD number, we would like to use that same number so we don't have to have multiple different conflicting codes that could be confusing. Again, the model type, brand name, we removed a requirement for what was it we had originally that was there, the performance or grade I think we had, because there were questions about whether that meant performance grade through the NAF standard or anything like that. What type of window it is, the brand name, the manufacturer, the code as applicable. So the information on the labeling side, which is in the middle here, a lot of this is more or less the same. One thing that we did change through internal consultation with our compliance group was that we removed the requirement for date of manufacture. That was a big sticking point that a lot of stakeholders had mentioned to us, how difficult it would be to put the actual date of manufacture on the product. So for our purposes, when we receive the energy efficiency report, which will be the test data that's submitted directly to our database, that'll give us the information that we need. That'll tell us, when more or less the model was tested and when it's applicable. So I think we're confident in removing that, and hopefully that'll please people, because I understand the labeling process that you have in place. Labels are printed off in bulk and may be very difficult to put specific model information on that label for when it's actually manufactured. Again, all the information we have here, the thermal efficiency values we have are the same as we had before. The verification requirements, just very quickly, it is a requirement of the energy efficiency regulations to have the verification of the product approved, it's certified by a third-party organization. This is a little different than they do it in the United States, but this is how we do it in Canada. So for us, we need a mark on there, which is usually just the logo of the certification body that tests it, but we will accept the logos of the certification body or the NFRC, because the NFRC obviously maintains their own comprehensive program. So if NFRC certifies the energy performance through their testing, that will be acceptable to us as well. And the import report, I'm not going to go into it too much. Anybody who brings anything across the border, imports, how to fill out the customs forms. There's the trying to remember the exact name that goes in there, the specific reporting requirements that are there. So the only thing that will be different, and we want to highlight this, is that we don't need an actual copy of the energy efficiency report with the import report. It just is a requirement that the model be within our database at the time it's imported. So I'll get to your question in just one moment. This is something that had come up before, and it is a requirement of the energy efficiency regulations. So if a product is coming across the border, if the border services checks the product, they can look it up in our database and see that, okay, it's here, the energy efficiency report has been submitted, that's fine. So that's just something we need to clarify. And this is, this isn't to any specific country or anything like that to impact the United States. This is any international imports coming in. And this is the same for all products. This is not something new. So it should not impact trade agreements or anything like that, or favor one group over another. Again, this is the same for furnaces, for air conditioners, for dishwashers, anything like that that comes in. It has to be within our database. Okay, sorry, the question we had there?
Hang on. Let's get a microphone.
Hi. I was just wondering about the process of labeling for imported products. So, I have right here a picture of a Chinese window that has the Energy Star sticker and CSA information with its performances. So when the imported products, do we ask them to put the labels overseas, or is it when they come over here that they get the labeling process?
Okay, well, that's a very good question about the actual point of, of where you affix the label on. Traditionally, correct me if I'm wrong, that would be at the factory, right? We're talking about factory-built products as opposed to site-built products here. So where that label would be applied and printed off would probably be at the factory. And again, the information that would be found on that label, like the number, the code and everything like that, would already be known because the energy efficiency report for this product would have been submitted to us and would have all the information. So it's something I don't predict that any border services are going to be checking labels. They're not going to be opening up pallets and crates and things like that and checking, but it should be part of the documentation that's there, at least so that they can trace the number to our database. And if it's a product that comes from overseas and it's already a member of some of these programs, like you mentioned, the Energy Star program, then in the future, by definition, it would have to be in our regulated database as well. It would have admitted and had that information sent to us. So hopefully that answers the question. If the label is actually printed once it's unpacked in the warehouse in Canada somewhere, I think that's a topic to discuss. But again, it's as long as we have the information there and that the label itself will point back to our database, that's the key. That's the key takeaway.
Couple questions on the import report. Model number, is that meant to be like the CPD number? Is that what we're talking about when you say model number?
When we say model number, we mean it'll be traceable as the number back to what's in our database. So ideally, that would be a CPD number, the NFRC.
Okay, so
CPD
it's
number.
not just, it's series 5000 window.
I mean, we have this question that's come up a few times about how many reports need to be submitted. So, and what constitutes a basic model. So our terminology and our requirement for how many reports need to be submitted. I'm talking about the energy efficiency report now, not an import report. It would be when something, there's a change to the model that will affect its thermal performance. And again, this is the same as is widely known in industry with NFRC. If you change something that's going to change the U factor, change the VT, then it would have to be re-simulated and it will be considered a new model. If you change the color of the vinyl or something like that, again, that's a cosmetic change. It would not constitute a change for us.
Yeah, okay. And also on the import item, so at importation, there has to be documentation for CBSA to review that does not absolve them from labeling the windows as well, correct?
No, that's correct. They would need to be labeled as well
Okay.
for, when they're sent out and installed, or they're put in a showroom,
Right.
or wherever. Like we're talking just about windows, but this applies to skylights and doors as well. That's within scope. But yes, just because we have the model or like the energy efficiency report number and the code that will link to our database, you still need to stick the label on it.
Right, okay.
Okay, so
Dave.
one more.
Adrian, where are you? Right there.
Yeah, I just want to say, in fairness to Enercan, regarding the perception of unfairness towards factory manufactured products, they don't even have the option of doing anything for curtain wall and site built because the regulatory framework simply isn't there. NAVS doesn't apply. NFRC is not tailored towards that product, and it's not covered, and it's covered under the National Energy Code for buildings, which is a much lower hurdle to get over than factory manufactured fenestration products. So they have no option to try and put both on an equal footing, and it's never was their idea.
Okay,
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
What he said.
Yeah.
So just to add on to that, he's exactly right about what we're doing. Right now, we do understand that there are a large segment of the of products that are out there that won't be covered, that were not manufactured products, that are site-built products. And as Mike mentioned, that for sure that covers a large portion of glazing as compared to the pre-built ones that we're talking about that will go into a small low-rise residential building. But again, it enters into the larger question of compliance and enforcement, because this is one of the main themes that we've received through all the feedback from everybody that we've talked to is how are you going to enforce this? A regulation is only good if you've got some teeth to it and we can actually put it in place and penalize those people who don't follow the regulation. So in terms of compliance, and reporting, what we had talked about earlier about how we would receive the energy efficiency reports. Again, we want to get them from the CBs. We want to get them from the NFRC in bulk. We don't want, tens of thousands of submissions showing up to our mailbox or paper copies flooding our office. So that's to make it easier for everybody who will be in compliant with this, who is already doing testing and labeling and doing what they need to do. Everybody would, who's going through those processes would actually be in compliance with the regulation if it were enacted today. It won't be enacted today. We're talking 2028, so don't don't get worried.
So,
But just to say that that's where we're coming from. And when we have a site-built product, again, it is required by most of the requirements for that in terms of glazing are required by the building code, by the National Energy Code for building, and that requires an energy model, like a building performance simulation, where there's trade-offs, there's things that get approved by architects and engineers. So each one of those products, it's not a kind of a basic model that comes out. It would be a unique manufactured product that would be assembled on site. And we would require a separate report for every single project that goes out there. So that's not something that I don't think anybody working in that field wants to be involved with right now. And for us to follow up on enforcement of that, about checking all of these products that are done for a high-rise building, verifying it with the engineer's report, with the thermal or with the energy simulation reports that are submitted along with the building permits. Again, this is kind of out of scope of what we can do, and it would be a challenge for us right now to enforce compliance on it. So it's been a decision that we've had to stick to manufactured fenestration products, which is within the scope of other programs that we have running out of OEE, including the Energy Star program. Energy Star for Windows, again, only works to residential or low-rise fenestration. So not to say that in the future these site-built products cannot be added to the regulation, but we're saying as a first step, what we're doing is putting manufactured products in.
Just want to ask, can you explain what is the energy efficiency report?
Yes.
Is it the NRCan product definition? Is it the simulation report? Is it?
So
Thank you.
there is a lot of confusion about the energy efficiency report, what that is, because we call it a report. People think of a paper copy that's submitted or sent out, and it probably was that way in 1992 when the energy efficiency regulations came into place. But things have changed, and now for energy efficiency products, for them to be within our regulations, what we do is we accept it's an Excel template really that will have the information that's there. There's a fields on it to say details about the product, details of the performance that are there, and then the simulation or the test report is submitted alongside with that. So that's how it works for most products. That's what we have if you have a air conditioner or a refrigerator, dishwasher that's coming in. It's fairly straightforward. But since we have so many models that are coming in, so many models of doors and windows and skylights, and there's such a enormous number. What we're doing is we would like to harmonize and work alongside with the certification bodies and the NFRC to receive this directly. So for the manufacturer, what they would be doing is they would be having the CB or the NFRC submit this report on their behalf. So, and that would just be a bulk transfer of data that's from the NFRC database directly to our database to populate it. So if you're within good standing there and you agree to that process, then we would have that within our database, and that would constitute the energy efficiency report.
At the risk of going too long
Yeah.
with Adam and Diana, because we can, and I certainly would support that, but we just don't have that much time. But I do want to make a couple of quick points. Site built, I challenge you to find a definition anywhere. So in your program, please provide a very clear, concise definition of what site built means, what it includes and what it excludes, because there is no good definition out there. Enforcement. In the bubble that references enforcement in your slides, the answer is one sentence. Obviously, I know that you're not there yet. Of course, we understand that. But I can't stress enough that when the draft proposal is submitted for public review, if there is not very clear, concise, what is enforcement going to be, how it's going to be managed, where we'll see it, will it be on the ground, etc. If that's not included as part of the proposed draft, you'll probably end up with Ottawa full of window trucks. Truly, I can't stress it enough. Our members are so concerned about what the enforcement looks like because we support it. If there's good enforcement, we understand that this could be a really beneficial program to our members.
Yeah.
So I can't stress enforcement enough.
No, thank you for those points. Yeah.
Just one point before we get here. The energy side for us is NFRC and CSA 440.2 and 0.3. Adding to these points, if there isn't a methodology for collecting the 0.2 and 0.3 data, that is big top of the list for me. That I'm not quite sure how you're going to see that program cover half of that equation.
No, absolutely. We're we're well aware of that. That not everything goes through the NFRC. Again, this is a regulation, and this applies to everyone, right? This isn't just we're picking and choosing things that are out there about who, which products are going to be with the products that are within scope. We're not able to pick and choose manufacturers and say, okay, well, you're within FRC, so you have to report, and you're not within FRC, so you don't. Everybody has to. So the only thing is, it makes it easier for us and for most people if the data is already aggregated somewhere like the NFRC. But we are reaching out to the Canadian CBs who do testing to receive data directly from them, and we'll be reaching out to them individually to set up a data sharing system like this as well. So I know we're out of time, so I'll just leave with our last slide here. Oh, I think it's gone. Yeah, so the one thing I just wanted to highlight, and Diana went through this as well, is that we're still in the pre-consultation phase. So right now, all of these questions that we're getting are extremely valuable to us, and this feedback is great, and it's helping us put it together. So anything that we're saying here right now, when we're responding to your feedback and about our intentions, this is us, engaging in the pre-consultation, and we want to try and make sure that what we publish in Canada Gazette Part 1 is going to receive the most support possible, as opposed to us waiting and then getting your feedback there. So there is an official consultation period that comes after Canada Gazette Part 1, where, again, you will please give us your feedback. Please give us your endorsement if you think it's something that can help you, your concerns, and we will address those officially through the publication in Canada Gazette Part 2 when it comes through. So yeah, that's just to say that anything that we're talking about here, the scope and the details of it, it only becomes official when it's published in Canada Gazette Part 1. Because due to the nature of the regulation and the laws, no one group of manufacturers who happen to be here receive sort of privileged information before everybody else. So we can tell you about what we're working on, about how we want to change it and what we want to do, but the official confirmation of what the policy is going to be will be released to everybody at the same time in Canada Gazette Part 1. So that being said, please continue giving us your questions and comments, and we look forward to talking with you and in some detail about some of these questions. We'll be here for the rest of the day, and I'll be here tomorrow as well.
Dave, one more quick one.
Well, yeah, just not a question, but a comment. They should not have to define what site built means. To me, it's anything that's not covered under the scope of NAVs and NFRC.
To you, it is.
But someone needs to educate the industry, and that would be us.
I don't agree with that at all. It should be defined clearly in the code that says site-built products.
But then we can
then
make
it's
some
not you.
suggestions, right?
Certainly, absolutely. We could provide guidance on what we think it is and our logic and our reasoning behind that, but it needs to be defined clearly. I get it all the time. This building official will call and say, I've got this guy telling me that he put glass in the sidelight of his door, so now it's site-built. Those are the things that come up. Define site-built. That's all I'm saying. Anyway.
Yeah, no, these are challenges that we're engaging in, and we will have more internal challenges for us too as we send this to Treasury Board and to legal, because everything has to be defined. I certainly like this guy here, and I hope he comes in and works with us some more, because he feels like he's a bit of a plant that we put there to support us and give us the go ahead. But yeah, site built versus manufactured is going to be a definition that we're going to have to put in through. So just to say that. That's where we're aiming right now. Based on the feedback we had, we did change some things. Again, whether it goes into a residential or commercial is something that we actually can't enforce because we don't actually look at the location of where it's installed. We can just look at the product itself. So we're limiting ourselves to the manufactured side of it. And I think that that's a reasonable scope that we can handle and we can enforce, which is at the end of the day, that's the best part. If we try and reach too far and cover too much, and we're unable to actually define it or enforce compliance on it, or actually figure out what these things are, then there's no use to anybody. So if we make the circle smaller, it's easier to control. So, yeah, there's some more information up here. You can get on our mailing list, and please reach out to us through the mailbox here, not my personal mailbox, and the EE regulations mailbox, and we'll keep you informed as to what's going on.
Adam
you
and
very much.
Diana, will you be sticking around throughout the day?
Yeah, Diana and I
Excellent.
will be
Okay,
here for
so
the rest of the day.
There you go. You can grab them
please
in the hallways
I guess
and
down.
talk about site build. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Diana. All right. Next, now this is perfect segue because compliance is an important topic, and
Thanks a bunch.
at the
Appreciate it.
Manufacturers Council, we realize that. And so our next speaker,
Yeah. No,
is
no,
the,
sit down and relax. You're okay.
hey, Madonna, your mic's on.
Good thing I'm not in the washroom.
Yeah, there you go. Our next speaker is the chair of the compliance committee. So to update us on our compliance task force, please welcome Brad Feevold.